Hi everyone, this is Bill Stearns, NE4RD with the Linux in the Ham Shack podcast. You can find us over at lhspodcast.info. This is episode 4 of my Get the Shack build ready here for Linux. And today we're going to go ahead and attach our digital modes to CQRLog. Now I have done some pre-configuring, so you might see a few extra screens than I'll see in this instance, but I'll go through all the setup stuff that you need to do. So let's just remind ourselves where we are. We have an Ubuntu 1704 system here, running 32 gigs of RAM, Intel Core i7, and we're also doing Budgie. So this is Ubuntu Budgie flavor. So let's get into it. So here's our CQR log. The last time we also imported our previous logs. And you can see I have all those here. And we got our logbook of the world running and EQSL running, and everything is synced up now. So we're going to go ahead and look at our setup, just to remind us how we set up originally the preferences for our digital interfaces. So in our FLDIGI/WSJT interface, we have the reading from data from FLDIGI. We want it to run FLDIGI after entering remote mode. And we want the frequency to come from FLDIGI, and we want the mode to come from FLDIGI, and we want the RST to come from FLDIGI. So basically, we just want CQRLog to act as a logger. Same thing here. We have WSJT-X. We have the path to it, and we want the frequency and the mode from WSJT-X. So now we know we have all that set up properly. Let's just look at WSJT-X first, since that's going to probably be the most popular remote software we have. So we'll flip into remote mode. It does take a second for or WSJT-X to pop up on its own. Okay, so as you can see here, my frequency is 18.153.740. It is reading off of my rig, but that's because I configured it. So the first time you pop in here, you will need to configure some stuff, and we'll go over those right now. So we'll go into File Settings. You'll need to put in your call sign, your grid square. These are some of the option items that I check. I can't remember what was the default, but basically I enable blank line between decoding periods. It makes it a little easier to read. Display distance in miles because, hey, I'm in the US. TX messages to RX frequency window, so that way I keep track of what I'm sending. And show DXS entity and works to before status. So that'll appear on the log and also in this WSJT-X CQ monitor. The other thing we have in the behaviors clicked on is the double click on call sets TX enable. And everything else is left as default. In the radio, so this is the part that makes the difference here. In the radio, I have the rig set as the ham lib net rig control. Because if you remember, when we start CQRLog, it already launches an instance of rig control D. And even though we went into remote mode, if we do a ps tac ef and grep rig control, it's still running in the background. Now, because it's in remote mode, it's no longer attached to that. So that daemon is actually open for any connections. And the port you're going to connect to is the 4532 on localhost. So if you look here, I have hamlib net control, rig control set up, and I have the localhost, which is 127.0.0.1 or 0.0.1 colon 4532. So that's that 4532 port. You can also put in localhost. You can also put in the machine name. I just prefer to always put in the loopback address or localhost, depending upon my mood. So my Ptt method, because I have a signal link, I'm leaving as Vox. The mode I want the rig to be in is data packet mode for my Yaesu FT450D. And split operation, I just have test as set as none. And once you have all that set, you can hit test cat, and it should pop up if it doesn't restart the restart WSJT-X and come back to it. So now that I do that, I can actually flip this, and it actually changes bands on the rig. And I'll just turn up my sound here for just a second. So there's 17 meters going on. Here's 20 meters going on. So you can hear the clicking of my rig switching around the frequencies. And it is set in the proper mode. I'm looking at my rig right now and it's USB data mode, which is what it needs to be. So basically all that works with the radio rig control because CQRLog has detached itself as a client from that rig control. Here, I'll turn down the radio again. Other options you need to have set here, your input and output. For the Signal Link, which is a Tigertronics product, a lot of people have this device. This is the name of the device. It's an an ALSA device. The input and the output. It's pretty obvious to select it down. I have quite a few audio devices on this particular computer, but you're going to look for the TI USB audio codec. That's going to be your one. Leave these as mono. Nothing special here. If you want to remember anything by band, you can transmit and tune. TX macros. Again, if you're a WSJT-X user, you can customize this if you want something custom. I think with the advent of FT8, people are pretty much not bothering with customized sends. Although this morning I worked somebody and they wanted me to QSY, so they sent me, hey, QSY to 17 meters. So it is possible they're going to send something, or possibly you can send something. But this default or changes some of the default drop downs for that last field. And here I'll show you this one right here. That's the one that you can change to whatever you want. Back to configuration, reporting. I have it checked to prompt me to log each QSO, and clear DX call and grid after logging. Okay, the other options you want to look at here, we have the network services. I always enable PSK reporter spotting. And you can also leave this as default, the UDP server, which basically opens up the ability to handle requests, which I'm assuming is how WSJT-X has this little CQ monitor. So nothing surprise there. Frequencies, I don't mess with it at all. If you're in a different area or whatever, you might need to change this. Otherwise, just leave it the same. Colors, if things look weird on your screen, then change the colors. It doesn't matter. It's not going to impact anything. I believe I've already changed my new DXEC to this little yellow color because it looked better on my screen. For advanced, I don't think I changed anything in this screen here. There's I think 2-pass decoding is checked. And if you're into contesting on the VHF modes, I believe they have a checkbox here for a different exchange mode for contests. So there you go. That's all the settings you need to get going, and YouTube will be on WSJT-X. I'm going to go ahead and tune my antenna. And we're just going to test this out. I'm already on frequency. There's nobody here. I am using my crowded monitor display here to make this video readable on YouTube. So you can see the signals right here are popping in, and you can see the decodes occurring right here. I'm going to go ahead and try to do a TX, and we'll see if we can snag anybody. And I just missed my TX cycle, so it's going to come back around, and hopefully we'll transmit in just a second here. So I'm just fiddling with my radio here, checking the ALC to make sure I'm not blasting the interface. And somebody is coming back to me a little late. Got a decode on KZ8K and Echo November 82. Great, got a report of -8, and I sent him a report of -6, but you can see that time when I received him, he was -2, so he was in a little bit stronger. I have a very compromised antenna for 17 meters. And as soon as it gets to 73, it's going to head and prompt you up for logging the contact. And you can see it has the mode FT8, the band, the frequency, and the power I already had set in here at 25 watts. You can use whatever power you'd like. I always suggest 30 or lower for the FT modes or JT65 modes. You don't need a lot of power. It is a weak signal mode, so less power is acceptable in this particular case. And generally, I'll have this on my other radio, which is only 10 watts. So that'll be basically what it will be running when I have this flipped over and add that second rig. So there's our proof of concept. The rig worked. We got a contact on WSJT-X. And you can see it's trying to catch back up on my online logging. I'm going to have to fix that. That's one thing I didn't show you. And it will eventually time out, so that's fine. So we'll go ahead and get out of WSJT-X so we can just see if that contact went in. We need to see KZ8K. So we're going to come here to File, Show QSO List. Sure enough, there's KZ8K in at 18.1010. And it will adjust the frequency based upon what is actually reported from the QSO from WSJT-X. And of course, you have your signal report, your mode, and everything else. It also backfilled in all the information. Jeffrey, Kimball, and this all came from HamQTH. So we'll just close. That looks good. Now we can go ahead and take a look at FLDIGI, and we'll see if there's any propagation there for me to do some maybe some PSK31. So the first time you go into remote mode for FLDIGI, you're going to get a prompt for a configuration, which will basically bring you into the configuration for your actual system. Sorry, your operator. I believe this is the tab that actually pops up when you first time open up. Let me turn down the radio a little bit. When the first time you open up FLDIGI. So you want to put in your call sign, your QTH, your station locator, your operator call sign, should you be operating under somebody else's call sign, your operator name, and your antenna. And that's about it for that. When you get into FLDIGI, we need to connect that up also to the hamlib.net rig control. So you'll go into Configure, Rig Control, and go to the hamlib tab. And you want to check the box that says Use hamlib. And you select the hamlib.net rig control, beta, and localhost again, or 127.0.0.1 and 4532 as the port. Now, on my particular rig, I had to increase this. This was originally set at 5 milliseconds for a retry interval. I set mine to 200 milliseconds because I was having problems having it connect, which is probably related to the rig running at 4800 baud, so it's rather slow to communicate with. So that seemed to fix that, so there was no other changes there. So in addition to this, we need to set up the rigs or the Tigertronics device as well. So we're going to go into audio and devices, and we're going to select port audio. And you can see here I have port audio selected. And again, you have the same devices. There's a shortened list because it grabs them from a different list. You don't get to see all the verbosity of the various devices that WSJT-X can actually read off of, which are basically multiple audio channels that it can find through, ALSA and Pulse and I believe OSS. So here it kind of collapses it down so you don't see all that noise. And again, you're going to look for the one that says USB audio codec if you have the Tigertronics device. Once you have that set up, you really don't have to mess with anything else. There are some customizations you can do to make your rig, the modem operate a little differently in each mode. You can set up pass bandwidth. You can set up bandwidth. You can set up how you want the squelch to be handled. You can do auto squelch. You can do auto frequency control. I suggest if you want to learn how to use FLDIGI, this is probably not the right video for you. There are probably plenty of other videos that show you exactly all the features, and of course there's an extensive online documentation, and there's tons and tons and tons and tons of users out there. So it's probably really easy to answer your question. If you'd like to ask a question, you can always leave me a note down here in the comments section, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But let's see if we can get this onto, well, I don't know. Let's go up to 20 meters, and let's see if there's any PSK activity down at 14,070. We'll go ahead and tune it up. And again, I do have to say that this is not, there was one right there. So inside of FLDIGI, of course, you also have the signal browser, which will show stations that are in your passband that you can see. I don't see anyone right now, so I will attempt a CQ. I haven't done this in forever, so excuse me if I mess this up. Okay, again, I'm gonna look at my meter here. Oops. I'm gonna look at my meter for my ALC, and I can see it's not quite popping the right power levels. Now that looks about right. No ALC, but maximum power. I probably won't get anybody coming back to me for the purposes of this video. Again, I'm on an end-fed half wave that is not it's not very ideal for the upper bands. It primarily is my 40, 80, and 160 antenna. It sort of works here. Obviously, I was able to decode and work that other station on 17 meters, but not always the best antenna for these bands. And my normal antenna, my vertical, my butternut, is suffering from bad capacitors, so I haven't gotten around to replacing the doorknob capacitors on that particular antenna, so my upper bands are pretty much gone right now. Probably put something up temporary here to get me through winter, and then I'll order up some caps, maybe for a Christmas present for myself. Yep, somebody is coming back. I can see a little bit of a trace, but definitely not strong enough to call it readable. You can see how everything's kind of a faint. You get these faint. Oh, there's one right there. That's AJ7C maybe? We'll see if I get him. Oh. Yeah. I'm getting a 599 out of that. Kevin, QTH, something, 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 city, Culver City. And of course, I don't have any of my stuff set up. So I'm going to hand type my response back. Culver City. Gilliam, I like that. NE4RD. Okay, so we'll start this off. We'll say, hi, Kevin. Getting partial copy on you. Doing, a YouTube video for FLDIGI and CQRLog. RST is 559, 559, 559. Block is DN55QT, DN55QT. Billings, Montana. Billings, Montana. How copy. Look at that. I'm like an old pro. I know I have to press the right buttons here. Oh, we get another brag file. So I'm guessing a 590 SG. Running some power. And he's running HRD. That's okay. We won't hold that against him. This is almost like copying CW. You know, you get parts of it. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on here. Looks like he was licensed in 1958. Oh, very good. Yep. A little QSB 95% copy. Okay, yeah, he does EQSL and logbook of the world. All right, so we'll go back to him here real quick. Licensed here in 1994. Thanks for the contact. Been a long time since I've been on BPSK. 73 from my poor little rig. Thanks for the QSO. And oh, get rid of that. Okay, so anyway, there you go. If my computer finishes up. And there we go. So we completed a contact. Let's see. We got a in. We got a 599. Out. We got a 559. This was Kevin, and his location was, what did we say? Culver City. Culver City. I'm assuming that's did we get a grid square too? Echo. Let's see what he said here. Delta Mike 04, DM 04, and that should be it. And that should be our log. So let's click the save button. And that should be it. Let's hit wipe, clear log fields, yes. I'm going to just go ahead and copy that just because I want to make sure this works. I actually haven't logged one in here before. We'll confirm quit, yes. And sometimes I know the FLDIGI does not quite release remote mode, so sometimes you have to go in here and click the remote mode again. Let's look at my QSO list. Okay, sure enough, we got AJ7C here at the frequency, 140716, PSK 31. We got the 559, the 599, and we got Kevin, Culver City. So yeah, all the information popped in there. Very good. So now we have FLDIGI running, so we can do all the digital modes, and trust me, there's a million of them in there. And of course WSJT-X, which of course has FD8 and all the really the popular modes right now. But obviously you can drum up a PSK contact right away as well. So yeah, let's do one more thing. Let's go to our log list here and let's just send this off to Logbook of the World, just to make sure this is still working. And there we go, upload successful. So now these should be flagged as being sent. Let's just scroll on over to Logbook of the World. Yes, they're logged. And the EQSLs were not sent, so let's go ahead and send the EQSLs. And 15 records were sent. Close. So now all of those should say yes, which they do. So there we go. Our CQRLog is running FLDIGI, WSJT-X, rig control. It's passing the rig control back and forth between the digital applications. So yeah, this is very good. I think we'll stop here, and I'll look for the next feature that we can talk about in the next episode. If you have any requests that you would like me to go ahead and try out on the system, please leave the comments in the comments section of the video, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So for now, this is Bill Stearns, NE4RD, saying 73.